Hey there, everyone, and welcome to an all-new episode of Golf Live. I'm Ryan Aselta. We've got a great show lined up for you this Tuesday afternoon. SI senior writer Alan Shipnuck sits down with PGA Championship winner Dustin Thomas. Plus, with football season just a week away, our Jessica Marksbury has a round with NFL Network host Rich Eisen. And Joe Passoff is back with more travel tips to help you make your plans for this weekend's Dell Technologies Championship in Boston. But first, the Fedex Cup Playoffs got off to a roaring start with the Northern Trust in New York this past weekend. Joining me now to talk playoffs and the impact of last weekend's event are Golf.com's Jeff Ritter and the executive director of the Bridge Golf Foundation in Harlem, Pharrell Evans. And guys, Dustin Johnson comes back from 5 shots down with 13 holes to go to beat Jordan Spieth in a playoff at the Northern Trust. Jeff, it's been a very interesting year for DJ. He had those 3 straight wins, the slip, the fall, the withdrawal from the Masters. He's back in the winner's circle in a playoff event nonetheless. What did DJ show you this week at the Northern Trust?
It showed me he's back. I mean, you could almost draw a line in the sand with that night before the Masters this year. That was DJ's season. Before that, he was the most dominant force in golf. It looked like he was going to storm to a Masters victory and maybe just pick up more majors along the way this year. He slips in his rental house and then really just kind of drifts through the summer. So, you know, if you were watching him, you could maybe see it coming. He was starting to play a little bit better here later in the year. But to me, Sunday at the Northern Trust, that was Dustin Johnson hitting on all cylinders. The Sunday 66 was it was that kind of almost effortless, you know, sauntering down the fairways and ripping 330-yard drives. It was the whole show that we've seen from DJ. He's back, and now he looks like an absolute force to be reckoned with here for the rest of these playoffs. Pharrell,
this seemed like the perfect way to kick off the playoffs. A mano-a-mano showdown with 2 of the game's brightest stars. How important was it for the tour to have something like this? You know, we've been waiting for these one-on-one showdowns for a long time. We finally got one last weekend.
Well, absolutely. I mean, you had a little bit of, you know, of kind of David and Goliath a little bit, even though Jordan is arguably more accomplished with more majors. But, you know, you have a player in Dustin who's arguably the best player in the world, but he's had I would say the quietest 16 wins for a guy. And Jordan right now is the marquee player, I think, on tour. But the tour needs more battles like that, and we've got 3 more events, and then we've got the President's Cup. So I just hope that players get together and fight it out.
Let's talk about Jordan a little more. He said after the playoff loss that he didn't lose this one, that Dustin Johnson won it. What do you think, Pharrell? Do you agree? He had a 5-shot lead with 13 holes to play.
I think he lost it. You know, he had that double. You know, he hits it in the water there on the par 3. A player of Jordan's caliber doesn't, on a Sunday afternoon, doesn't lose that tournament with 5 shots. It's not like Dustin had like 6 birdies, you know, and just stormed back. I mean, Jordan came back to the field.
Yeah, Jeff, what do you think? I mean, we've seen 5-shot lead before for Jordan Spieth, obviously at the Masters with 9 to play, but he played the final 4 holes on his front 9 and 3 over par after grabbing that lead.
Well, it was different than the Masters meltdown of 2 years ago. This wasn't anything like that. I do think there was maybe a little bit of both. I think Spieth, right when he had that 5-shot lead, the first thing he did was make a double bogey and open the door back for DJ. But I don't know. I mean, Dustin Johnson did go out and shoot a 66. I think the playoff, that 18th hole, if Dustin Johnson were to design a golf hole in his own for his own game, that's probably the golf hole that he would create for himself. So I think Spieth was a huge underdog going into the playoff when it got to that point. But yeah, Pharrell has a point. I mean, when a guy of Spieth's caliber is up 5 shots in the final round, he should close the deal. But DJ is a special talent and one of the top players in the game. And really, when it's all clicking, you can make a case that he is the top player in the game. So if anybody's going to run Spieth down in that scenario, it probably is a guy like DJ.
Are you agreeing with guys like Ian Poulter and Kevin Kisner about that 18th hole? Some of them called it the worst hole on tour.
I didn't think it was a bad golf hole, but it's certainly set up for Dustin Johnson over a guy like Jordan Spieth.
Right.
Yeah, all right, fair point. Well, DJ seems to have played himself back into the very intriguing Player of the Year debate. It seems to be a 3-horse race right now between Johnson, Jordan Spieth, and Justin Thomas. And when you look at the wins, the top 10s, the majors, Jeff, who's your Player of the Year right now, those 3?
Right now, I would still lean Justin Thomas because he has the 4 wins in a major. He also has 2 of the most impressive single rounds of the year, the 59 at the Sony Open and then the 63 at the US Open. So you couple that, 4 wins, one of those wins being a major championship. I lean JT, but it's still very much up in the air for me as we go into these last 3 events.
What do you think, Ferrell?
I think it's Justin Thomas right now. If he doesn't win another event, the 4 wins in the major, and as Ryan pointed out, those 2 great rounds. So it's hard to go against him. But I think you're missing one. I would have included Hideki in the race. I mean, he's had a great year. He's been very consistent. But he made the cut in all 4 majors. But I think when it's said and done, I think now unless Dustin goes out and wins this week, and he wins it, I think there's a good case for him also. But
yeah.
I think the major is the biggest difference though.
And that's the gaping hole with Dustin Johnson. I mean, Tiger won 5 without a major and 1 Player of the Year, but Dustin Johnson's got that hole in the resume. Hideki's got 3 wins. No majors.
Right.
I think a lot's going to be decided the next couple weeks. I love Spieth's resume with the 4 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds, 9 top 10s, and a major. But I think if these guys battle it out the next couple weeks, it's going to make for a very interesting race going into that Player of the Year, which comes out.
But I think Spieth would be the most popular choice.
Spieth, yeah, he would be a popular choice. Well, Justin Thomas, with the fantastic 2016-17 campaign, has played himself into this conversation. He finished tied for 6th at the Northern Trust last week. But before the week began, Sports Illustrated senior writer Alan Shipnuck caught up with the PGA Championship winner to find out where the first-time major winner is keeping his newest piece of hardware and what kind of influence Tiger Woods has had on his career. Take a look.
All right, Justin Thomas, thanks for stopping by. I know you haven't had a chance to have any drinks out of the Wanamaker Trophy. Have you had any cereal? What are you using that thing for?
I actually haven't had anything out of it, as crazy as it is. I thought I would have something, but I've had enough enjoyment just looking at it and touching it since then.
I know when they give the guys a Stanley Cup, there's all these protocols you have to follow. Do you get any advice on how to handle the trophy?
Not too much, no. At least I don't remember. That Sunday was such a blur, and especially that Sunday afternoon. But no, it's pretty much just been sitting in my room. I've taken it to dinner one night. I took it to a couple other places, but it's been pretty safe and sound since then.
I mean, it's without a doubt the greatest trophy in golf. So if you're going to win a major from that standpoint, you want it to be the PGA, right?
Yeah, if in terms of drinking quality, that's definitely, you can fit a lot of liquid in there. But I'd take any of the major championship trophies.
Even the claret jug so tiny, it's like.
It makes for a great wine decanter, though.
So I remember Jeff Ogilvy saying after he won the U.S. Open, some days he woke up and said, I have to win more majors because I won a U.S. Open. And some days he's like, who cares? I won a U.S. Open. Where are you on that continuum?
Really neither. I'm not, I never planned on just winning one or stopping at one. I mean, I hope to win many more than that, but at the same time, I'm just focused on the next event I'm playing. I'm focused on what I'm doing. When I'm not playing golf, I'm not focused on anything having to do with golf, so it's pretty much just wherever I'm at. But as of now, we have a long time until a major comes, so I'm just focused on the tournaments I have next.
The celebration you had with Tiger Woods, people were interested in. How has that relationship evolved through the years?
Yeah, it's just really been probably the last year and a half or so. I reached out to him last year and talked to him a little bit about Augusta, and just figured between him and Mr. Nicklaus there wasn't really any better brains to pick. So after talking to him and we just kind of stayed in touch, and being in Jupiter, get together every once in a while to go play golf or for dinner or something. And I don't know, I've been fortunate he's taken a liking to me, and we've gotten together as often as we can, and he's motivating to me, when he can't play. I mean, obviously if he was playing, he probably wouldn't be doing the same thing, but not having to do too much, he's been watching more golf probably than he ever has, so it's been cool how he's been pulling me on.
Does he talk any trash, like, hey, nice major, 13 more and you'll get to me?
Not too much. I mean, I think he understands what the first one means and what any of them mean, but if I start talking trash at him, he has a pretty good go-to.
Yeah. I mean, you said that celebrating him was one of the most meaningful parts of winning the championship. Why?
It just was cool. I mean, I probably shouldn't say the most meaningful, but I mean, there were many things involved that were unbelievable. But just enjoying it with someone that I've looked up to for so long, and someone that I was a role model of mine, you know, growing up. It's kind of surreal, honestly.
What were some other cool things that came in the wake of that victory?
Just heard from a lot of people. You know, a lot of people reached out, and it's cool. You know, the support system that golf has and that I've able to create, and it's just it's awesome. You know, it's funny the amount of different people and branches you hear from, kind of that reach out when good things happen. But it was awesome.
I think people are really touched, you know, watching your dad's emotions play out. Have you had any fun with him about how much airtime he got at the PGA?
Not too much, no. I mean, I think really the last week's been just as much of a whirlwind for him as it was for me. So he's been kind of doing his stuff, but all back in Louisville. And I mean, he said he was teaching like crazy at the club, so it's just another week for him. But no, we haven't talked too much.
Yeah, a lot of kids come in and want to be able to hit a 300-yard cut 3-wood. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
So. You know, the thing about the majors, it draws in a lot of casual fans who maybe don't watch the tour every week. And I heard from a few people afterwards saying, how does a guy your size hit the ball the way you do? In your words, what is the key?
You know, a lot go into it. It's definitely obviously the form in general with golf, you know, being able to use the ground well and hitting it solid and making sure that you're kind of optimizing your launch, your carry, everything like that. And then it goes to the manufacturers, the clubs, Titleist, am I getting built the right stuff? But I mean, a lot of it is what I'm doing off the course and away from the course, you know, with the training and the therapy before and after, say like Massage Envy and the total body stretch, and making sure that I'm able to have my body and my joints moving properly, and when I'm home to be focusing on the proper parts of my body and getting stronger where I need to.
I mean, you were going hard last fall. Obviously, you had an incredible week in Hawaii way back in January. How much do you have left in the tank at this point?
I feel great, and it's because of stuff like that. You know, it's because of the work I put in the gym on the off weeks. It's because of the time, you know, with Massage Envy. It's with the trainers, with the physio, and that is why I do it, is because when I get to the end of the season, I'm feeling just as good as I did in the beginning of the season. In terms of being a little tired and mentally fatigued sometimes from stuff like the PGA or winning, you know, the first couple of days after, that's going to happen. But you know, that's stuff that you can't control. I
mean, you said on the Thursday after the PGA, you went to hit some golf balls, and after 15 minutes, you kind of lost interest. That must be a rare feeling for you not to want to hit a golf ball.
You know, it's not as much as it was. I used to not be able to go a day or two without practicing, but now I have no problem. If you told me to not touch a club for a week, I'd be fine with it. And you know, we play a lot of golf, and I love it, and I love every second of it, but it's also nice to get away.
When the season does end, I mean, have you already planned some big getaway to celebrate an incredible year?
I mean, I can't wait to go to Tuscaloosa. I can't wait to go to Alabama for a football game and take the trophy, see Coach, and take it to some of my favorite restaurants, favorite bars, and, you know, people that I've developed a great relationship with. Go see Coach Saban, see the football team, and then take it home to Louisville, you know, go to my high school, my golf course, the places I go to in Louisville. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I want to enjoy with it, so I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. Justin, thanks for stopping by.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure. Congratulations.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Justin Thomas, one of 100 golfers or so that'll tee it up at the second leg of the Fedex Cup Playoffs this week. TPC Boston and the Dell Technologies Championship. New name, same golf course at the TPC, playing host to the event. Now, a year ago, Rory McIlroy began his run towards a FedEx Cup title with a win in Boston. Pharrell, when you look at this field, we're down to 100. I think we're actually a little less with a few withdrawals now. We're in the 90s going into this. When you look at the field, who should we keep an eye on this week in Boston? Well,
I'm picking, who am I picking?
I believe you were going to pick DJ, unless you wanted to change it here.
Right. But the guy I'm really watching is Harold Varner. He played himself into the top 125. He played himself in the field with the top 20 this past week. He's coming in. He's, you know, this is the furthest he's gotten into the playoffs. He has nothing to lose. So I like him. He's a sleeper. It's a long shot, but I think he'll be a player that hopefully I think we'll see coming down the stretch.
And you like DJ repeating.
Well, I mean, you know, you have to. You know, here's a guy that, you know, this is a course that he can play, and the way his whole rapport on the golf course with his brother, he's just not stressing it. He's not thinking at all about, tomorrow or yesterday. He's thinking about right now and about making birdies. And so you have to like a guy with that mentality.
Yeah, and we know he's streaky, Jeff. DJ, he reeled off the 3 in a row earlier in the year. Maybe we're in the middle of another one of those runs. Who do you like this week up in Boston?
I'm going somewhere between sleeper and favorite. I'm going in that vast middle ground of other guys who are very, very good and due for a win. I'm looking at Paul Casey this week. Casey should have won this tournament last year. He entered the final round with a 2-shot lead and got run down and run over by Rory McIlroy. But Paul Casey's had a nice summer. His 5th place last week, popped up at the PGA Championship, contended there for a while. He's a guy that I feel like flies under the radar this time of year, but he's also the rare player who seems to play well at the end of seasons. We see a lot of guys that peak early in the year. Throughout his career, Paul Casey tends to play well late in the summer. So I think he's due for a win. He's extra motivated by letting it get away last year here in Boston, so he's my pick this week.
Yeah, I love it. I love Casey this week. Long overdue. He shot that 2 over par and blew the lead last year to McIlroy. But his last 5 starts, he has 3 top 5s. His worst finish in the last 5 is a T13. So he's trending, as we say, on the golf course right now. All right, big week for Phil Mickelson. He's currently 58th in the Fedex Cup standings. Now, not only does Lefty need a solid week to move on to the BMW Championship this week, but it's going to be his last chance to make a case to be on that President's Cup roster. Captain Steve Stricker has said Phil needs to play some better golf to earn a captain's pick. Jeff, Stricker's going to make the announcement next week. At this point, one more event to go. Does Mickelson deserve one of those captain's picks?
Yes. I think Mickelson is on this team for a couple of reasons. One, we know that he gets the extra boost playing these team events. 2 years ago, President's Cup, he was once again a controversial captain's pick. He was even lower in the standings than he is now. He went 3-0 and won that week. He was the spiritual leader of the team. He was fun in the locker room. He had really one of his best team weeks ever coming in as a captain's pick. So I think the track record that he showed in these events, he's earned the benefit of the doubt to say to Stricker, I'm ready, use your pick on me. Or if Phil really is in a slump, I think Stricker has to trust him to tell him that, leave me off of this one. But I think Phil deserves the chance to make his own pick or call his own shot on this. I think he's on the team, and I think he'll be fine. And you just, use that second pick on another guy who's ascending or a younger guy. Give somebody else their first chance to play on a team. But
Phil's currently 17th in the standings. Pharrell, I'm going to read a list of names to you. Kevin Chappell, Brian Harmon, Jason Duffner, Gary Woodland, Brandt Snedeker. He's injured. Brendan Steele, Ryan Moore. Those are the guys ahead of Phil. Can you really pick 2 of those guys to be on this team instead of Phil Mickelson?
Easily.
Really?
Easily.
Not many of them are wetting my whistle here, Pharrell.
Brian Harmon? I mean, look, Phil Mickelson has had a great career. When has he last missed a Ryder Cup or President's Cup team? It's time to move on. I think I could see if he was like 12 or 13. He hasn't been the same since he and Bones split. I think Phil, he can still play. He can still win majors. But should he be on this team? I don't think so.
Let's not forget, though, the Ryder Cup last year. He was 2-0-1. That's just a year ago. Same type of Phil Mickelson. He's the all-time points leader in President's Cup history for the Americans. I think it's tough. I think one of those guys deserve it. And Harmon's had a great year. Don't want to take anything away from him. But when you've got Phil and the intangibles he brings off the course, his rapport with the younger guys, I think he's a key component to this team, guys.
Let's make him a vice captain.
That's Tiger Woods' job, isn't it, bro?
The intangibles are tangible with Phil. I think you got to take him. I think Brian Harmon would be my second pick, actually. I mean, I love the way he hung in there at the U.S. Open. He's got to win this year. I like Brian Harmon a lot for this team, but I would take Harmon and Phil together.
Harmon and Phil. I like it. Jeff and Pharrell, I like that as well. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. All right, we still got a lot more on tap this Tuesday afternoon. Coming up, Jessica Marksbury sits down with NFL Network host Rich Eisen. But first, with the PGA Tour heading to Boston, here's our own Joe Passoff with some golf travel tips if you plan on teeing it up around the pros up in New England.
Hello, I'm Traveling Joe Pasov. This week on Tour Travel Tips, we journey to Boston, Massachusetts for the PGA Tour's Dell Technologies Championship. For your tee time, sink your pickaxe into Granite Links at Quarry Hills in suburban Quincy. Designed by John Sanford, who also co-authored the Trump Ferry Point course in New York, Granite Links is a 27-hole championship layout draped atop an old quarry. Brilliant white bunkers, granite outcroppings, and sensational views of the Boston skyline form the aesthetic appeal. For food, drink, and ambiance, public golf doesn't get much better. For your lodging, let's go with a classic, the Omni Parker House. A downtown Boston mainstay since 1855, this place oozes history, yet it sports all the contemporary accents and conveniences you could want. Parker's Restaurant is where Boston cream pie was invented, as well as the legendary Parker House dinner rolls. Boston offers so many strong dining options, from seafood to Italian to diet-busting bakeries, but if you have to pick just one, make it the Union Oyster House. Located on the Freedom Trail, 1 block from Faneuil Hall, Boston's oldest restaurant dates to 1826. You can belly up to the semicircular bar for oysters, or head upstairs to Booth 18, where JFK used to dine on lobster stew every Sunday. Fill up on a cup of clam chowder, a crock of oyster stew, and a plate of fresh scrod, and you'll turn instantly into a local. I'm Traveling Joe Pasov. I'll see you down the road.
I'm Jessica Marksbury for Golf.com, and today I am so excited to enjoy a round with Rich Eisen of the Emmy-nominated Rich Eisen Show on the AT&T Audience Network. Cheers to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
And thank you so much for your time today. This is a very classy thing that we're doing right here.
Oh, that's good.
Wow.
I like it.
Now, this is a treat for me.
Okay.
The first time that we've had a Brunello selected on the show. So please tell me.
I'm breaking new ground.
Yes, tell me why you went with this today.
Italian wines are my favorites. You know, I do love a good Cabernet from Northern California, or Pinot from anywhere on the West Coast. I just like a wine that just blows your taste buds away. I like a big booming red, and Brunello di Montalcino is incredible. And Tuscany's a great area.
Well, as we mentioned, you are an Emmy nominee. Tell me a little bit about your show and the guests that you get to interview. How do you prepare for the faces that are coming through your door?
I don't know. It's not much preparation. I mean, I try to ask the questions that I think that fans want to hear and know the answer to, and have a good, relaxed conversation. I mean, in our business, that's suddenly become the outlier, where conversation is the ultimate entertainment and informational delivery device, you know? And I've always loved watching talk shows. I've always aspired to be a host of a talk show. And in our day and age, there's a lot of shows where there's argument, it's argument driven, and there's a split screen, and one analyst or host takes an opinion that's opposite the other, and then you bash them together, and there's no gray area, there's no nuance, there's no discussion. For my show, we're the opposite.
Well, you're a very avid golfer, which is exciting for me.
Yes.
I'm really looking forward to talking to you about some of the courses that you're playing, especially in the LA area. I know, given your profile, you probably get an invite to a lot of very exclusive rounds of golf, maybe some pro-am. So please tell us some good stories.
Well, first thing, I think you just noticed that as soon as you mentioned the word golf, I started drinking. I love it. I truly do. It's something that relaxes me. But that's the issue, is that I'm relaxed. I'm not focused. I'm not one of those folks who goes through a pre-shot routine or is constantly thinking about what I need to do with my turn, or
not obsessed with your swing.
I need to be more, you know? I don't know if I have that discipline.
Well, and the great thing about the topic of golf is that it's a wonderful equalizer. Anyone that you have coming through the door, I would imagine, loves to talk about golf, whether they play themselves or if they just have an opinion on some of the pros that are playing. I want to ask you specifically about Matt Lauer, who came in recently, told the story about number 12 at Augusta. Well, somebody, he wouldn't say who, put 2 in the water and then had a hole-in-one.
He said that there was a very famous sports broadcaster who at Augusta put 2 in the water on a par 3, 2 in the water and then pegging up the 3rd shot, wondering after it went in the hole if he should get like his name on the plaque for having a hole-in-one. And to me, no, you shouldn't. That golf, as you call it, a great equalizer, it's also a great window into your soul, because you have to, once you put your number on the card, at one point look yourself in the mirror as to the number you put on that card. If you didn't shoot a 4 and you put a 4 down, to me that's a window into your soul. It really is, you know, and I can't lie about my golf game. Like I said, I'm not terribly good. I'm sociable. I'm just too honest when it comes to it.
Well, Rich, that's exactly why I'm against the whole viewer call-in thing with the rules.
Yeah.
Because you're totally right. It's up to me to call a penalty on myself, or in the situation you just mentioned, it's up to me to say, hey, Rich, those were OB stakes. Right. That wasn't a lateral hazard.
I know. And plus, I'm glad that they're, you know, removing the couch-ridden sleuths from having a role. Because to me, you know, especially what happened at the Inspiration, right?
Alexi.
Right. What happened to her, it's just like, at what point was the statute of limitations supposed to run out on the caller? Like, is it just one day? Would it have been if there was a second day in between? Then you say, well, that's too long.
There's got to be someone who's DVR'd majors from 10 years ago that's going through the footage as we speak.
Tiger's going to have to give back that green jacket. I'm sorry.
I can't let you go without asking you one more question. Yes. Give me your golf bucket list item. One thing that you've got to do, find the time to do. That's
I'd love to play the road hole. I've been fortunate to play Pine Valley, but Augusta National would obviously be a great spot also.
Did you find Pine Valley worthy of #1 ranking?
I thought, to me, again, like I said, I haven't played Augusta. Pine Valley was incredible.
Well, very worthy choices in St. Andrews and Augusta. Cheers to that.
Thank
you. Congratulations again on the show's success.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time, Rich.
Thank you.
Golf's very, very cruel. You know, sometimes you play a golf course that has very deep bunkers, and you get this strange situation where the ball's outside the bunker, but my feet are inside the bunker. So what I've got to do here is find a way to get this club making decent contact with the ball, but it's very unusual. So a couple practice strokes are always in order here, trying to get a feel for where that club's going to hit the ground. As I walk in, I'm going to definitely have to grab onto the shaft with my right hand to shorten the club enough to make decent contact. I'm going to have to choke down a lot here because the ball's almost at waist high, so I'm almost down on the steel with my right hand, and whenever you're hitting these shots with the ball above your feet, it's going to go a lot more left than you think it is, so you want to aim well right of the hole. So I step in, I don't need to dig my feet in a lot, but I definitely want to have steady footing because I want to be pretty still when I'm hitting this. Again, this is a tough situation, but you can definitely handle it. Make sure you choke down on the club, right hand on the shaft, be kind of still with your body, aim well right, and you should be able to make good contact and get up on the green.
I started when I was 5.5 with my parents, and I just played my first tournament at the age of 7, and I loved it, so I just kept doing that, kept working hard, and now I'm on the LPGA, so it's good. I came on playing my first event when I was 18, and I didn't really feel like I was the youngest one. I felt like everyone else was also a teenager. Women's golf has always been much younger than men's golf, so it's a good thing. Well, I heard that golf would be in the Olympics in 2012, and ever since I wanted to make it happen, and I knew I had a good chance if I played in enough professional events, and I made a lot of effort to get sponsor invites and go Monday qualified for an LPGA event. So I made a lot of effort to get there and to finally be there and just realize how big the Olympics is, and that golf got to be a part of it for the first time in like over 100 years. was a great experience. I think a lot more people know me and know about golf now, and it's definitely a good thing. I mean, we don't have a lot of golf courses in India, but still I think it has the potential to grow a lot more. So I'm sure by the time the next Olympics comes around, golf will be much bigger in India. Well, one thing I would take away would be planning my game better, because I do play well on all kinds of courses, but it's different on the LPGA because each venue is so different, the weather is different, and sometimes even day to day the courses change so much. So just being able to plan and execute my game a little better would be, something that I would take away and to work on it. Having good finishes better than, just making the cut, having more top 5s and top 10s, and I know I have that potential to do that, so just getting everything together more weeks during the year so that I can play with the best and be in some of those final groups.
All right, that's going to do it for this week's edition of Golf Live. We are off next week for the Labor Day holiday, but we will be back September 12th with a brand new episode. Until then, be sure to stick with Golf.com for all the latest golf news and exclusive video content. And don't forget to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy the holiday weekend. Take care.